Tessa Thompson, welcome to the Daily Social Distancing Show.
Thank you. Hi, Trevor Noah.
Let me start by congratulating you. You have the coolest face mask collection I have ever seen. You've got like crystals on some, you've got like, they've got bedazzles, they've got, how many face masks do you have?
I haven't counted. I have a growing collection, and I started making them. I'll count and I get back to you, but I definitely have upwards of at least, I would say, 25, easily 25, because I started making them. I have been bedazzling N95s, and yeah, I've perfected it. And my friend Gloria has made a bunch with me.
You are as at home in major blockbusters, like a Marvel franchise, whether it's Thor or Avengers, as you are in like the most intimate indie films, Sorry to Bother You or anything that we've seen you in. It just feels like you're at home. I feel like your new film is no different. It's a departure from what we may see you in, but at the same time it feels completely authentic to who you are. And before we get into the movie, I'd love to know how you pick these roles.
A couple things. I feel like I look for something that scares me. Is there something I have to learn or do or communicate that I'm frightened or mildly terrified that I cannot? I feel like that's exciting, an exciting place of creation. And then I also think a lot about where have we not been? Where have we not seen Black people, people of color in certain spaces? Like, how do we get us there? I think a lot about how have we not been seen in the past? Why don't we exist in the future enough? And those kind of things compel me into different genre pockets, because sometimes if you change just who the protagonist is, that changes the aperture in a way that can be really political and interesting.
It really is. I mean, Sylvie's Love is no different. When I first heard of the movie, I was like, okay, this is a movie that takes place in like the 1950s, and it's probably going to be about civil rights, because I mean that's when the civil rights movement was taking shape, and it was a beautiful surprise because yes, it exists in that world, but it's a story of two people falling in love. It's love during one hot summer, and a part of it felt like like you were attracted to the story because of the music. I know that you love music. I know that you love jazz music. Tell me how important the music is in this story.
Huge, because for me it was basically a love letter to music. And Eugene Ash, there's all these fantastic songs that were written into the script. So when the script was sent to me, that's what I did. I immediately, anytime a song would come on, I'd press play on the song and I'd read the script through. Oh, wow. with that soundtrack. So it was really like an immersive sonic experience for me. And then, not for nothing, my favorite love song of all time is Nancy Wilson's "How Glad I Am." Nancy Wilson is like a big sort of touchstone in this film. So music is paramount for me. I use it in my work. I use it in my life. Like, this whole quarantine has been a lot of music.
I will say what I really enjoyed in the film, or one of the things I enjoyed, was Nnamdi's character. You've got this big human being who is the softest, most romantic, just gentle. It like the paradox of the character was something that I didn't expect. Why do you think he was the perfect person to partner with in telling the story?
In general, I think what's exciting about these characters and feels kind of modern about them is they're trying to upend their own ideas of gender. For example, Sylvie is this career woman who says to this man in, the 60s, why don't you let me be the breadwinner so you can follow your dreams, And I think it's particularly compelling to me at a time where I think we are still trying to upend our ideas around gender and be the fullest expression of ourselves and not feel boxed in by what society at large tells us we ought to be because of our gender presentation. So I found that really inspiring. And I think for Nnamdi, it's funny because he likes to pretend that it's just like sublime acting, which of course it is. He spent a year learning how to play saxophone, but I also think he is a bit of a softie, and so this role gave him the opportunity to access that, and I hope his NFL brothers take a cue.
What I also appreciated in the movie was how your character, and you really portrayed this well, is how she's pushing against a world that is constantly telling her that she cannot be. And I felt like that's what Tessa Thompson does in real life. You've been someone who's been really vocal about how Hollywood needs to change, how women need to be given opportunities to direct more films. First of all, do you think Hollywood is doing enough now that people are speaking up? And secondly, why do you think it's so important to have women at the helm of telling these stories?
Something that I found really exciting about Sylvie's Love is inside of it, you see this young would-be producer who assumes that that's impossible for her, and she is given an opportunity by another woman of color. And I think certainly in my own trajectory, I can trace every pivotal moment in my career to a person of color or a woman, and in some cases both. And I think that really points to the necessity that we need to be in those positions of power, of hiring power. And when we're there, it can't be enough that we're there. We have to make sure that other folks can be in the room with us. It's not enough to just be in proximity to power. We also have to possess it, and some of that has to do with making our own institutions and our own places where we can flourish. And I think that's something that I am seeing. There's all of these friends of mine that are creating their own companies and doing it their own way, and really thinking not just about opportunity, but about ownership. And that to me is the most exciting thing that I see happening inside of this industry. It will literally eventually change the face of Hollywood, but in terms of inclusion, that's not something that happens by mistake, which is why I advocate for things like the 4% challenge. You have to make it a mandate, I think, at the studio level. And to me, that will be the real marker of change, is when we can make those systemic changes that are written and actionable.
Well, you're doing an amazing job. I loved watching you in this film because, I don't know, it was just nice to see human beings loving each other during this time.
Thank you.
Isn't that nice?
It is, right? It was just like a wonderful feeling. It really was. I loved it. I loved the music. I loved the feel and the vibe. It was great to watch a period piece like this where it's like, I've never seen anything like this, or it's been an extremely long time. So thank you very much for your art, as always, and thank you for joining me on the show.
Thanks so much for having me. It's always such a pleasure.
Take care, Tessa.
You too.